Hey, this is a video that I am making in response to uh, several different questions that I think are somehow related. Some asking me what aspects of DNRS I have found to be most helpful. Others asking me about how I went about improvising off of the main DNRS training, you know, regimen or whatever that you're given when you first take the classes. I did improvise a lot, so just asking about that. Um, this is going to be a series of videos. We'll see how many as I get into it. Um, but I would just want to quickly say at the outset, just a disclaimer: I am not trained as a DNRS coach. I have no connection whatsoever to DNRS except for being a success story. I did the online videos and did the training or a version of the training for 6 months, and pretty much completely healed from what I had thought was a chronic mold sensitivity, mold illness. Proved to be not that, but limbic dysfunction. So it's just, from my experience to try to help people as best I can. Now, on improvising, all right, let's say that's our theme. Improvising. What do I mean by that? I mean personalizing what you're doing for yourself. When you start out with DNRS, they walk you through different elements of a training session, from stop, 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 and you gesture to the left and to the right, and you talk to your limbic system, and then there's the positive memories and da 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 da, right? All these different sections. Start there for sure. Absolutely start there until you feel like you have got that down. I don't think it is necessarily the case that you need, well, I would just say in my case, in my own case, it wasn't the case, that I needed to do that exact sequence of elements an hour a day for 6 months. I didn't do that. I started improvising actually just within a couple of weeks, but on the basis of what I felt like I was learning and benefiting from in that regimen. So definitely start with that regimen. And so maybe you can think about that regimen as providing, a core elements, a kind of template for, to one of my favorite analogies for the limbic system and limbic retraining, dog training or dog retraining. A dog training course, but your dog. This is your old animal brain, mammal brain. Uh, is different from mine, right? We all have something in common in our limbic dysfunction and having limbic systems and so forth, but each of us is a little different. So personalizing it, and it's a moving target over the time of your retraining. Even just a few days in, you probably recognize you're in a different place from where you started before. And so to be attuned to the needs of your limbic system on a given day, at a given moment, that's what the improvisation, as I'm calling it, is all about. All right, so let me start, first of all, with the question of when and where. So you're told in the DNRS training an hour a day for 6 months. Now, 6 months, right? Actual times may vary. I think the point of the 6 months is to say this is a long-term commitment. Okay, buckle up. It's a long-term commitment. An hour a day. Okay, they say it can be an hour solid at once. 2 sessions of 30, or however you want to break it up. I found that for me, I needed at least 30 minutes to really get to really get into it, to get my head into it, and to get my heart into it, and feel like I got to the point of having a aha, right? So it wasn't just by rote that I was repeating and da 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 da, but that I really felt like it kind of struck me what I was doing and the importance of what I was doing, and that it was real and working. Okay, because that's kind of connecting your thinking and your heart and your limbic system. And if you watch my video on the limbic triad, that's what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to go from our thinking, rational, executive function, language, brain, down through the emotions to work on these symptoms. Okay. Uh, so I found that it took, again, at least half an hour for me to kind of work my way into that. Okay, so maybe I'm a slow mover. Again, actual times may vary. I wasn't looking at the clock. I was judging by that. But so basically, I had two 30-minute sessions a day. Typically, the more important one I found to be the morning one, first thing in the morning, and then I would do another session at the end of the workday, so evening. At some point, I discovered the value for me of then having something of a nightcap session, just a lighter, after my teeth are brushed and I'm just ready to crawl into bed, I would go outside and just have a little, hey, how you doing? Good night to my limbic system kind of thing. Um, in order just to kind of check in. I don't know. I just found that to be effective for me. It wasn't a full on session. It was just sometimes I would stay out there and talk to myself or talk to my limbic system for an extended period of time, but sometimes it was just a couple of minutes. Um, Also, another time, I would say outside of, in addition to this hour a day, however you divide it up, is as a sort of intervention. If you do have a flare up, try to catch that as early as you can. Stop what you're doing if you can, go off to yourself if you can, and just have a kind of intervention. It doesn't need to be a complete session, but do a stop, stop, stop. Limbic system, I see what you're doing. This is not this is not what we're into right now. You need to calm down. Whatever, and you may not completely again have a it doesn't have to be the entire session, but some kind of intervention can help that limbic system that's ramping up to kind of start to calm back down. It's never a light flipping off, right? It's more like the flow starts to slowly diminish. That's what you're trying to do, is just kind of turn the corner for your limbic system. So during the day, definitely some of these intervention sessions. And for me, I would kind of go back to basics. Stop, 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 right? Those original words from the DNRS training. Now, outside of the main sessions, a couple of assignments that I gave myself that I thought helped very much. First was just continuing to reflect on what I was doing. I found it really interesting, first of all, just intellectually interesting. I felt like I was getting to know myself, and a part of myself that I wasn't really attuned to or hadn't thought about in the same way, that was having a deep effect on myself. There's an emotional impact, and it's a kind of a profound experience, honestly. Um, and so I was reflecting on it a lot and doing research on the limbic system, not necessarily connected to DNRS, but just on neurology, on different parts of the brain, how the different parts of the brain interact. I watched a lot of YouTube videos on neuroscience. I did a lot of research, YouTube type research, some book reading on neuroplasticity. For over lunch, very often I would watch a DNRS recovery video, that sort of thing, okay? Just to kind of have it somewhere in the back of my mind, rumbling around in there, to keep it rumbling around in there, bring it to the fore, not as a training, but just as a learning. And again, this is it's a slow process of deep rehabituation. I think all that sort of research definitely contributes to it. At least it did for me. I will also say, just by the way, connected to another video I have, During this time, set aside your other research about your chronic illness, the ones that make you alarmed and concerned about the toxins that you might be exposed to in your diet and in paint and plastics and what have you. Live a healthy lifestyle. Okay, avoid that stuff to the extent that you can. Eat organic, all that kind of stuff. Right? That's just basic healthy living for everybody. But don't make that the focus of your research. I think that kind of feeds the negativity of the limbic system in a way that's not healthy for your healing. Also, outside of the sessions, calming. All right, you can think about what you have is an injury. And what do we do when we have a part that's injured, right? Even our animal brain, even a dog knows you rest it, right? So we're just kind of, it's over agitated, it's chronically agitated. We want it to calm. We want it to calm. So, calming routines. I find being outside, going for walks, walking through the woods to be very calming. I still do that. I always have liked that, but it became really, part of my recovery to make myself, right, to just make that part of my day. And I would say to my wife, got to go outside, got to go for a walk, right, this, for my limbic system. Calming music. I changed my night routine, my bed routine. I used to read the news in bed as I was kind of drifting off. I switched that to calming music from classical music, some adagios, which are kind of slow movements, to ambient music, which is kind of minimalist background music. I just played around with different things, but the idea was just to have it very much calming in the background to let my mind wind down that way, rather than in something that would kind of get me stirred up. And speaking of news, I also reduced my news intake. Okay, I did this during, I started in January 2020. So there was COVID, there was that, that election year, and so forth. Right, this was not a good time for calming, emotional calming. I just, I had a basic sense of what was going on. I didn't tune out the outside world, but I stopped obsessing on every gory detail, and I think that's probably healthy for most people anyway. But again, I consider this part of my therapy, part of my recovery, to really reduce my news intake, especially of emotionally disturbing news that I really couldn't do anything about anyway. Try meditation. I picked up on meditation rather late in my process, and I wish I'd picked up on it earlier. Again, YouTube, great resource for just picking up some, just getting started. It's not much by way of getting started with meditation. Watch one or two videos and you're up and running. One video that I watched from some Buddhist monks described meditation as being, your mind as being like a glass with a bunch of sand all stirred up, and as you're meditating, the sand is slowly just settling down to the bottom, and then there's this clarity. I think that's a really beautiful metaphor for just like calming that, what another one of these videos referred to as your monkey brain. So they're your animal brain, right? So try meditation. I started actually ending my later in my process of retraining. I would end my training sessions with meditation. That was the last thing I did before getting up to go about my business. So look into meditation. All right, I think that is plenty for this first video. Again, this is the first of a series of maybe one or two more, we shall see. But I hope that's helpful, and good luck and be healthy. Bye.